What do you think about the live golf thing?
Love it.
Good.
Absolutely love it.
I also love it. It's better than the PGA Tour stuff. We know now that live golf is firmly ensconced in the public mind. And how do we know this? Because of Joe Rogan and Andrew Santino discussing it a few weeks ago on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. The Joe Rogan podcast is the town square of podcasts. It's the number one podcast in the world. And now that Joe Rogan and Andrew Santino are discussing live golf, we can see somewhat, vaguely at least, what the public thinks and knows about live golf.
The other perspective, obviously, is the one that is the bigger deal. Is people are think it's an immoral move,
Right,
unethical move.
In this episode of Big Boy Pants Golf, I'm gonna listen in on Joe Rogan and Andrew Santino discussing live golf, and I may throw my 2 cents in because I'm somewhat of a live golf aficionado.
Some people love the preservation in the history of the PGA. I get it, tradition.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't pleated pants a tradition once? You know, having your pants be part accordion? Point being, tradition is just the way it was done. It doesn't mean it was the best way. No one cares at a certain point. This is 2023. The word tradition is going the way of the R word. In 10 years from now, you'll be calling it the T word.
A lot of things about the PGA are bullshit, and particularly the idea that the PGA had a stronghold on them. It was kind of like, it has like the remnants of like contracts from studios in the 50s for actors, where you're like,
Yes, it does, Andrew Santino. What's at issue here is the PGA Tour monopoly, because in 1994 or 1995, the antitrust lawyers at the FTC suggested that the PGA Tour be looked into for anti-competitive practices. Instead of having this situation viewed on the merits of the case, the PGA Tour pressured Congress to pressure the FTC to not investigate. And that's where we still are today, modern day 2023.
your fucking ass, your likeness, your rights, your images. When the golfers golf, they can't use that footage. They have to license it from the PGA. So if I'm out playing and I want to be like, hey man, I want to put up a post on Instagram about this dope ass putt I hit or whatever, this great, you have to buy it. You have to buy your shit back from them.
Phil Mickelson brought this up when he was playing in The Match, and it was like $1 million for any footage for him for each match, which is ridiculous. The PGA Tour, in this case, is kind of like those music managers. They don't have any talent. They just get you into some weird contract, and while they suck off you like some succubus, you still have to perform like some circus chimp for them.
Bullshit. Why? If I'm Zion Williamson in the NBA and I fucking yoke on someone, I put my dick in their fucking face and dunk on them,
Whoa.
the NBA can't wait to give you the footage. They're like, dude, post that shit because it's gonna help their brand. PGA is old white guy bullshit, and I get it that it's antiquated. So some of the younger guys were like, fuck this, I want more freedom and fun. I want something different. Mm-hmm. Some of them, their careers are on the other side. Mm-hmm. So they
In the British Open, remember, Cam Smith wins. After a few months, he goes to live. In the top 10 were also DJ and Bryson. I wish this narrative that the guys who went to live are somehow less than the PGA Tour players would just go away. We just saw Patrick Reed, who's also on the Live Golf Tour, finish second to Rory in the Dubai Desert Classic. And the Dubai Desert Classic, which is a DP World Tour event, had tons of the Live players in the top 10 or 15 or so. And most recently, in the Saudi International event, which is now on the Asian Tour, but used to be a DP World Tour event, and this is important for later, Abraham Answer, also on the Live Golf Tour, just beat Cameron Young of the PGA Tour. These guys are competitive, are at the top of their games, and should be and will be represented in the majors.
might not be making so much more to win money, right? So this is a great alternative. The problem people had was like Dustin Johnson or, guys that are at the top.
Exactly. Except for it wasn't the fact that they had a problem with Dustin Johnson being the top leaving. They didn't want any of these top guys like Dustin Johnson, Bryson, Brooks Koepka, guys who finished in the top 5 on the PIP list, which is based on a golfer's popularity, in essence, to go overseas and break up the PGA Tour potential monopoly.
And they're like, why are you pulling your game over there? Do you think you can't win anymore in this?
Fun fact, very few people care about how many PGA Tour tournaments you won if they're the John Deere Classic, etc. You care about the majors. That's all that really matters in golf. Just like in tennis, you only care about the slams. You don't care about the ShopRite Pathmark Classic in Rahway, New Jersey.
But what's the big controversy?
Well,
the big controversy is
Saudi
right
money.
with the Saudis.
Yeah, but Saudi money is invested in tons of shit. Look
Uber, Facebook, Saudi money, PIF fund, deal with it. Don't point out how Saudi money is funding Live. It's funding everything.
Look up Saudi money LPGA. Look that up.
Nailed it, Andrew Santino. It's funding the Aramco Women's Series. Aramco is a Saudi company. Aramco has proudly supported the Houston Half Marathon for nearly 2 decades.
The investment of the Saudis isn't like a new thing in American sports. So people are just mad because the PGA particularly is mad because they're looking something in the face that's threatening them. It's not going to be bigger than the PGA.
Not yet, anyway. It's not bigger than the PGA Tour yet, but in my estimation, in the near future, 3-4 years from now, it's going to be bigger than the PGA Tour because the Live Golf Tour will continue to get some of the best players from the PGA Tour while also developing these kids right out of college. So once these guys like Eugenio Lopez Chacarria, who already just won on the Live Golf Tour, start winning majors, it's just going to bring more eyeballs to the Live Golf Tour.
What people are concerned with is that people are leaving and they're going to work for someone who's been accused of some horrific shit.
Sure.
Right, except for the fact that, again, in 2019 and 2020, the then European Tour, now DP World Tour, was hosting the Saudi International event in Saudi Arabia.
But who made your jeans? Most people go, oh, dude, I don't like that. It's like, dude, your fucking shirt was made by a Chinese kid.
There's a lot. Well, your phone. If you're complaining about stuff, you're literally complaining on a device that was made by slaves.
And that's everyone's point who's not pushing the PGA Tour narrative. Let's stop going with this hypocritical approach and address the facts on the matter. The PGA Tour simply feels threatened and now is trying to smear Live Golf. When Live Golf first came out, Jay Monahan did an interview where the interviewer was trying to ask him about, well, what about PGA Tour China? And all Jay Monahan could say was, that's a moot point because there are no tournaments being played there right now due to COVID, etc.
So I think that when you start to get into nitpicky stuff, I'm always like, I understand the idea of like being like people are anti them playing for Saudi money, but if you think you're not involved in Saudi money at a high sports level, I'm sorry, but it's there. I think here's the deal. I understand tradition, but if these guys want an alternative league to play in, who fucking let them go play? Who gives a shit? I don't know. Why do you need a monopoly of one league?
Exactly. The PGA Tour's product is stale. No one wants to watch the tournaments unless they're majors, and the PGA Tour doesn't run the majors.
What people have a problem with is Jamal Khashoggi. Jamal Khashoggi, who was a journalist for the Washington Post, who was dismembered at the Turkish embassy.
Keith Pelly, the head of the then European Tour and now head of the DP World Tour, didn't have enough issues with the Jamal Khashoggi murder back in 2018 not to host the Saudi International in 2019 and 2020. Live started in 2022. Just something to think about in terms of a timeline and how selective this outrage really is.
I don't know, man. I don't know who literally is funding. They could be just Saudi businessmen that are funding Live. I don't know the particulars, but I don't know. That's what I'm saying is like, whatever. If they want to go play in that league and they're comfortable with it, let them go play, I guess. Fuck it.
What an American perspective.
Well, let them go play. It's fucking capitalism, baby.
Exactly. Go let them play. It's American capitalism, baby.
I think, honestly, here's what's really going to happen. They're going to go get that money and then they're going to leave. Then it's going to be over and it's going to dissipate into nothing.
Or not. If they have that kind of cheddar.
My prediction, Live continues to flourish, gets bigger each year, especially now that they've got network coverage on the CW, which has tons of outlets within the United States.
Have enough cheddar, they could literally keep this going forever if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't put a dent in them.
No, it's not that. And you're right. It's more that what guys are going to be willing to either stay there or continue to go over there. So the problem is the talent, right? It's like anything else. It's like,
But they're having the events here.
correct. I went to one.
So you don't have to stay, you don't have to go over there.
I think they only. I think they only play one over there. All of them are here. Like I went to one in Chicago, Rich Harvest Farms.
This year, I think of the 14 events, 6 are overseas, and 9 of them are within the United States. Something like that. But there's significant international presence, and there's also the U.S. presence. So it's a good balance.
It's really interesting to see the internal uproar, which I immediately attribute to golf is an old tradition sport. So people are really particular. So they don't even like that someone's entering the conversation. The PGA does not want competition. They don't like that guys are even thinking about going. And then I think, personally, they're shoehorning in the Saudi stuff to go, and that's bad. See, they're more mad about business interests. They don't fucking care about
How
the
much
Saudi
of
shit.
Exactly. Had the PGA Tour had concerns about all these human rights abuses, they wouldn't be going into China, or they wouldn't have paired up with the DP World Tour and had this strategic alliance with the DP World Tour after the DP World Tour hosted events in Saudi Arabia. What's even more interesting in terms of this whole selective moral outrage is, what about the DP World Tour? It's short for the company Dubai Ports, a wholly owned Dubai company, and all the UAE human rights abuses. It's widely known that all the hotels are built with essentially slave labor. Folks, let's at least try to be consistent. The upper echelon of the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour need to be more consistent with their moral outrage.
What's the highest level player?
The highest
that went over
paycheck?
there? The highest level, like a guy who's like a championship caliber.
The correct answer is Cam Smith, who is arguably the best player in the world.
Phil Mickelson is one of the greatest of all time, arguably, in a span of many golfers. Right? I'm not saying he's like number one, I'm just saying he is one of the best of all time, and he is I think he's the biggest money, right? Wasn't he the biggest?
I believe Andrew's correct. $200 million to Phil Mickelson.
Didn't they lose all their sponsors once they went over there, though?
A lot of them did lose their sponsors, but who cares if you just made $150 million? Most recently, Bryson DeChambeau seems to be splitting up with Cobra and Puma, though they've been associated for the past, 3 to 5 years. But again, Bryson DeChambeau might have made $120 million or so signing up to go play on the LIV Golf Tour. So I think he's still going to be okay for life.
If you want me back, I'll tell you I'm sorry.
Bryson is not telling anyone he's sorry. He's living the dream on what's going to be the world's biggest golf tour in a matter of years. Joe Rogan, I'm a huge fan. I've only listened to maybe 1,200 episodes, but each episode is 3 hours long, so I've invested a lot of my life in your episodes. If you need some guy who knows the details about the LIV Golf Tour a little more than Andrew Santino, hit me up. Everyone else at home, like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next episode.